Good morning, everyone. I hope your day is going well. Welcome to my review of the amazing digital circus, The Last Act. In case this is your first time here, hello! Usually on this channel I make scripted video essay analysis videos, but for newer releases like this one, I like to do a more casual review. The intro and outro are fully scripted, but the main body is pretty much just me rambling. If you'd like videos that are a little more structured, I highly recommend checking out the rest of my channel. I've spoken on a variety of topics, and I'm pretty sure you'll find something there that you'll like. And if you're looking for analysis on the amazing digital circus specifically, you should probably subscribe, because I'm planning to release a weekly character analysis video until I've talked about every major character in the finale. This will probably come out to 6 or 7 videos, so I think you'll probably want to be here for it. As always, I'll start with a spoiler-free review, then we'll have a spoiler section for the second half. I released this video early on Patreon, and I think most people will be coming here after watching the finale, but I still want to do it this way just to be safe. And if you want to discuss the episode in the comments, please be courteous and mark your spoilers. Not everyone has the luxury of instantly watching something as soon as it comes out, so just be nice, please. Anyway, you probably know what this video is all about, so let's get started. Grab some water, a handful of mashed potatoes, and get comfortable. Let's talk about the amazing digital circus, The Last Act. Hello! Welcome to the casual, almost unscripted part of the video. First and foremost, I want to say that I think this spoiler-free section will end up being pretty short. Usually when I do these reviews, they're split into sections like characters, plot, scene dressing, stuff like that. And that works great for singular movies that are packaged like as one thing. But the problem with doing that for this finale is that it also is good/bad in the context of the rest of this series, so I don't feel comfortable talking too much about it because I feel like that's gonna give stuff away, so I'm gonna try and be as vague as possible, and that means that it's probably not gonna be as long as usual, and I hope that's okay with you guys. And also I'm gonna try and keep the spoiler section not too long either, but anyway, I'll get to that later. Overall, I think the finale, I oscillate, if I had to give it a number rating, I oscillate between a 7.5 and an 8.5. I think it's pretty good overall. I enjoyed some parts of it. Some parts of it I thought could have been a little better. Like, I don't think it's the best episode in the series, but I like it in a lot of ways, and I'm unsure about it in a lot of ways. And I'll probably have to rewatch it several times to figure out my exact feelings, but it did make me cry, so if that's your metric for whether or not you want to see this, there you go. Yeah, I'm still going to try to do sections a little bit, again, not going to get too much into it, because I'm trying really hard not to spoil people about this, because there's been lots of issues with that. But yeah, section 1, how does it look / was it worth it to do the theater experience? I feel a little weird talking about this because you're not really able to do a theater experience now, but I'll talk about it anyway. Finale, as always, Amazing Digital Circus is very pretty. It looks really good in a lot of ways, and this finale is no exception. I really enjoyed a lot of the decisions that it made creatively. I really liked how it looked, always love that design aspect of it. And it was honestly really, really cool and really surreal to see it on the big screen. Like, I don't think I realized till I was in the theater what a huge accomplishment it is that a web series like this got to be shown in theaters. Like, I don't know if we really appreciate how crazy it is that happened. And also, like, I don't know, maybe this is a bad idea, but I'm gonna lay my cards out on the table. I think it's really silly of people who got, like, super angry about it. I can understand feeling like if you're in a country that wasn't able to get a theater release, like, that's sad, right? Like, I can get being upset about that. But being upset at the creators for wanting to do it at all, I think I think that's just a bit silly. Like, this is something really cool that they were able to do, and I don't think it's fair to just look at that and be like, it's for the money. It's like, no, it's like, at the risk of sounding like a pretentious artist, it's a step forward in what people can do. And it's just so cool that a YouTube series got to be in theaters. I know technically it's also on Netflix, but the theater is something else, you know? It feels like a bigger milestone to me, and I'm really glad that they got to see it, and I think it's really cool that it was able to be done like that. Unfortunately, I have heard that some people had some pretty bad theater experiences. For me, at least, everyone had really good theater etiquette. There was some laughs, there were some ohs, I think lots of people cried, but overall it was just like a normal, good theater experience. And I'm sorry that apparently, like, a lot of, well, I don't want to say a lot, I've only seen a couple, but I don't want to downplay anyone's experience either. If anyone had a bad theater experience, that sucks, and I'm sorry it happened. But I don't think that's Glitch's fault. I think that's the choices of individual people who need to be told or reminded that they're not at home in their living room. They are in a theater, and there is theater etiquette that should be respected. Next bullet point, the plot. Yeah, we're starting to get into dangerous territory here. Simply put, I like the idea of the plot. I don't know if it was executed to its full potential, but there's a lot of it that I like. I like the idea of it. I like the concepts. There are lots of good moments in here. I think you should definitely watch it yourself because it's good. Like, it's good in a lot of ways. I'm just someone who, like, you know, the part of what I do on this channel is I look at how stories are put together, and I feel like this didn't go all the way with all the things it introduced. But again, I had a good time, and I think you should go watch it. Next section is characters, and I don't know why I tried to do these sections because it's so hard. Again, I liked a lot of what was done, but I think it could have been a little more balanced between what characters were shown in some ways. Like, I understand that some characters are the main focus of this episode, but I think that maybe it could have done a better job of balancing it, because some characters get so much spotlight that it kind of feels like the others are flat by comparison. Like, they're not, we've been with them this whole time, but just their role in this episode becomes so secondary that they feel less like characters than they probably should, at least in my humble opinion. The final section for this bit, is it a good finale? I think so. I would hesitate to call it great or perfect or anything like that, but it was really good. I really enjoyed my time with it. And I know not everyone had the opportunity to see it early, but I think it was a really wonderful opportunity for people who got to do that. It really sucks that some people decided to be jerks about that, but I just think it's really cool, and I hope that everyone at Glitch feels appreciated for all the wonderful and hard work that they put into it, because it really shows. The artistry at play is fantastic, and no matter what I say about the finale and like whatever quibbles I might have with it, I am so happy that it exists and that we're lucky enough to be able to see it, whether it's in theaters or on YouTube. I think it's so wonderful that we get to do that, and I hope you guys have a wonderful time with it, like, regardless of whether you end up liking it or not. I think you'll, maybe it's contradictory, but like, I think you will have a good time with at least part of it. It's made with a lot of love in it, and yeah, I think if somehow you're watching this video and you haven't seen it already, you should go watch it, because I think there will be at least some parts of it that you will enjoy. We are about to start the spoiler section now, so if you're someone who's hoping to not get spoiled, or that, I don't know what circumstances under which you wouldn't be able to see it now that it's fully out, but if you can't see it and you don't want to get spoiled, now is your time to duck out. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you on my other videos. Okay, hello, welcome to the spoiler section. Like I kind of alluded to earlier, I'm trying to keep this a little bit shorter than my usual ramble reviews about other things, because I'm planning to go into a lot more detail in the coming weeks with my character analysis videos, but I still have a lot to say, so we're just gonna get into it. Like I kind of alluded to, my rating oscillates between a 7.5 and an 8.5 because I feel like I go back and forth a lot with this episode. There's a lot that I like about it, but overall, I feel like it's a little bit rushed in its pacing and all the things that it's trying to do. I've heard like friends and some people say that the series maybe needed another episode, and I sort of agree. Like, I think it definitely has the sense of like there needed to be more exploring in all the avenues, but I think maybe what might have been better rather than another episode would have been to make this episode longer. Like, instead of like 30 minutes, instead it's like, I don't know, like 45 or 50, right? Just an extra 15 to 20 minutes, I think would have helped to let them expand and like pace things out a little bit more. And I think some people will disagree and like maybe think it's all good and like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes in my reviews when I say that I wish something had been explained or explored more, people assume that this is maybe uncharitable of me, but sometimes people assume that that means I want everything handed to me. I want everything like on a silver platter. And that's not really, that's not what I want. I don't want to be spoon-fed things, but what I want is for things that are set up to be like fulfilled. Like I want there to be payoff to the setup. And in this episode, at least, I feel like some things weren't, especially with how much this episode tells us. I feel like it could have helped it a lot to give the audience more time to sit in revelations rather than just continue moving. Like a lot of these, it feels very truncated in some ways. Like there's a moment where, we're really getting into spoilers now, after, last chance to duck out, after, well, right before Jax abstracts, there's like a narration from Pomni where she's like, I wish I'd pushed more. I wish I had figured out what was bothering him, right? Like, and that's a narration. That's the only time she narrates something, and it really feels like a shortcut. Like, it really, really feels like that is a shortcut to get from that point to the point where he's abstracted without showing anything, and it just felt a little weird and jarring. And also at the start, it's implied that like a lot of time is passing, but we don't really get to see the characters like interact. Like, okay, we see, and it's implied that they're recovering, everyone except Jax is recovering up until he abstracts. But it's all a little bit hand-wavy. It's a bit montagey, you know? We don't really get insight into like how each character feels about what happened. And yeah, I need to follow my bullet point list or else I'm going to be talking for like a few hours, and I need to stay focused here. So obviously, the center of this episode is meant to be Jax and revealing his backstory and what's going on with him. And that's fine. Like, I don't mind him being the center of things. That's totally fine. I got no problem with that. But it reveals stuff about Jax and his relationships with other characters that I think should have gotten more focus, or if not gotten more focus, just been explored just like a little bit more. Like, we learn so much about how things used to be, and yet a lot of it kind of confuses me. Some of the things we learn, I really think could have been explored more. You can still have the main thing eventually be the relationships between Pomni and Jax, because they are the two main characters. Like, I don't mind that. But like I said in the earlier section, that dynamic is taking up so much of the focus and spotlight that it really makes the other characters feel flat. And like they just appear to aid in that arc, and they're not really characters with thoughts and opinions. Like it's a really weird feeling to me. And like this is particularly obvious when it comes to Gangle, because obviously Gangle is feeling some type of way about like her main bully, I say main bully, only bully in this place, like her tormentor essentially dying. Like, she's obviously feeling some type of way. I know abstracting technically isn't dying, but functionally speaking, that person is dead. At least that's the way the narrative treats it. And we get so many reveals where it's like Gangle's name is a cruel thing that Jax said to her, and Kane just like kept that as her name. And Jax only called her that because he was like, oh yeah, she's so weak and pathetic, we might as well call her Gangle. And then Kane was just like, oh yep, I'll put it into the system, that sounds great. And it's like, that's really, really messed up. And like, I'm not asking for there to be a scene where like Gangle rages and like spits on his grave or whatever or anything like that. It's just like, we never, like, Gangle's feelings on the whole situation are comprised of, she's off to the side and she's like, why can't I cry for him? Like, she's kind of upset that she's not feeling bad like everyone else is, which is fair. I mean, like, you never want to be glad that someone has died, but in this case, you can kind of get it, you know? But then eventually, she does start crying and runs off on her own, and Zooble comes by just like, dang, emotions are complicated, huh? And Gangle's like, huh, yeah. And then they just like go off, and it's like, go off on their own, and it's like, there's a lot there. Like, I feel like there should have been like a more intense, maybe not intense, a more like in-depth conversation about the relationships between Jax and Gangle. Because like, Gangle is kind of within her rights to just not be sad about it. The episode sort of acknowledges it, because like, no one ever goes up to Gangle and is like, you are really terrible for not being sad. Like, it doesn't take that stance, which thank goodness, but it's like, it doesn't really get into it. We kind of just gloss over it, and I think that's kind of a shame, because Jax's like relationship dynamic with Gangle is really weird and complicated and unhealthy, but it's also like really interesting. And I really would have liked to know, because like, we never really hear Gangle's thoughts on Jax beyond like, oh, I hate him, I want to like kill him, which is fair. But I have to wonder, like, she does feel bad that she doesn't really feel sad when he dies. And it's just, yeah. I'll probably talk about this more in my own like video talking about Gangle specifically, but like, it's just one of those things that feels a bit underbaked, and it bugs me. And the same kind of goes for Ragatha, because Ragatha is an interesting character for me, because as I've alluded to before, I relate in a lot of ways to Ragatha's struggle, where a lot of the time, especially when I was like younger and in high school, I was very much a people-pleasing person. Maybe not to the degree Ragatha is, but I understand the feeling of thinking, I understand the feeling of being in a group of people and thinking, oh, the best thing I can do is to serve everyone else and that will fix everything. And it's like an instinct, because you feel like, oh yes, I am most at home when I'm helping other people and no one think about me, I don't need anything, I'm fine. Like, that's a kind of mindset I've had to unlearn as I get older. And so I relate to Ragatha in a lot of ways. And I was kind of like, I thought I knew where she kind of sat in this group, but I was kind of disappointed because it didn't seem like she ended up learning anything, if that makes sense. With the reveal of Ribbit's actual name being in the series, which like, I'm just now realizing that like, we knew Ribbit's name, but it's only now within the series that it's actually being revealed, and I'm glad they did that. Like, it's treated as a big moment of development for Ragatha, and I really, really love the hug between Pomni and Ragatha. It's so visceral in its comfort, if that makes sense. Like, it's so clear that they really, really care about each other, and this is a moment of pain, but also potential growth, and they're gonna be there for each other. Like, it's huge. It's meant to feel huge, right? But in terms of her people-pleasing and wanting to just fix everything by being nice, to me, it didn't feel like she grew and learned that people pleasing wasn't the way to go. And like, as I'm saying it, I can kind of see that it does happen, because now that Jax has died, she says Ribbit's name and now expresses that like, oh, maybe that wasn't the best idea. What would have happened if I hadn't been a people-pleasing person, and if I had just been like, no, we're going to talk about this? Like, she has those thoughts, but it doesn't linger on that. Like, I would have liked for it to, I don't know. And it's interesting because it almost frames it as like Ragatha's people-pleasing behavior being a new development, which I think is interesting. Like, in the flashbacks that we see of Ragatha, she kind of doesn't have that like aspect almost. It's really strange. Like, we don't see a lot of her, to be honest, but her relationship with everyone else seems a lot more stable. Like, when Ribbit is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go with Jax, show him around, Ragatha isn't like surprised or disappointed or anything. She's just like, oh, okay, see you guys later. Like, it's totally fine. And like, I'm glad that she's just like chill about it, but I don't know. It just, there were, yeah, okay. Getting into like another something that was kind of weird. Kinger isn't there for like a while. Like, during Jax, like, isn't it weird that as, like, after Jax abstracts, everyone at least gets to stay their piece? I feel like maybe they should have said more, especially Gangle, and like, there should have been a deeper conversation about that. But like, everyone gets to say their piece, right? Like, you have, you got Zooble and Gangle and Ragatha and Pomni, and Kinger's not there. He's just not there. And it's really, really weird that he's not there. Like, he doesn't need to say much, but we don't even get him, like, gazing sadly down at Jax. He's just not there. And then he only appears later when they do the whole thing where they pull Pomni away from abstracted Jax. He is only there in that moment as a like temporary like, oh yeah, we're all in this together, we're gonna help you figure this out, which is nice, but it's like, where was he? What was he doing if he wasn't there with them? Like, it's weird that he's not there. It's just a little bit strange to me that he's not there. And he functions more like, he's less of a character going through an arc. He serves more of a structural role than like a character, right? Like, he's the wise old sage that they need to get the knowledge out of to know things, right? He doesn't necessarily need to like learn something, I guess, necessarily, but the fact that he's not there is just odd. But, you know, okay, I've talked a lot about how, like, certain character arcs I feel were a little bit unfinished or underdeveloped, but one thing that I really, really liked was the reveal of Jax's backstory and the reveal of, I guess, his identity and gender identity. I like the way that that's handled. I love the choice of it being in first-person perspective, and then as Jax is telling this story and we're hearing what happened and like what happened to him, it changes slowly from first person to third person because it feels like we're actually seeing him for the first time. Like, we leave inside of his head as he's talking, and it feels like we're seeing who he really is and what he really thinks. This is a moment of open emotional vulnerability and honesty. And then when he gets spooked, it snaps back to first person, and it makes that panic and anger at himself for revealing that personal stuff so much more visceral. Like, we really, really feel it as he starts to distance himself and starts being really unpleasant to people and pushing them away because he's freaking out and he's like, no, I don't care about anything. I made all that up. Don't ask me about it. It's fine. No, we're not friends. We were never friends. It's fine. Everything's normal. Nothing's changed. And it's like, it makes you so mad, but it feels so, like, personal as well, because we're seeing it through his eyes, and it's just, oh, Speaking of which, I really like trans Jax a lot. And like the more I think about it, the more I just like it. It makes sense to me. Like it was a theory before. Like I'd seen a couple people talking about it as a possibility. And now that it's become canon, it really makes sense to me. And I think it adds a lot of dimension to his behavior. And I just really like it. And I also like it because it's obviously a huge part of the narrative. But it's not a case of like, once quote unquote like a secret is out, or once like he talks about it, that doesn't solve all the problems that we have. In fact, it like causes him to go into a really toxic spiral. Like, it's so interesting to me because the way the scene is shot, it's beautiful. It's so gorgeous. It's like, this is a freeing and beautiful thing, but at the same time, it's extremely personal. And as soon as he thinks that maybe someone else will find out, he's terrified, and it spooks him so much. And like, it doesn't absolve him of the way that he acts following this, but it makes it so interesting to me because it's like I said, it's such a beautiful thing, but you can also understand his fear in this moment. It doesn't mean you agree with the actions he takes, but it's so good. I love it so much. And like, when I heard the reading of Jax possibly being trans, you know, I saw a lot of stuff about it. Not a lot, but like some stuff about it. And I thought it was really interesting, but I really wasn't sure if that was where the series was gonna go. But now that it has, it makes me really happy. I'm glad that they did that. It's really nice, you know? But one thing I do feel a little weird about is Jax's abstraction. Because a part of me thinks that it's meant to be a sort of tragedy. Like, Jax, maybe if he'd had the right support, maybe if he'd had made different decisions, things could have ended up differently, and he could have been much happier becoming, you know, changing gender there. Like, maybe could have been different if he'd had different support, if he'd grown up a different environment, if it wasn't like 2014 where he was. But like, I think in some way it's supposed to be very tragic. But also, the abstraction situation seems really fixable. Like, we don't know how abstraction works exactly, but Pomni goes on a whole internal mind journey to find the real Jax and talk to him and try and understand him and hug him, and it's amazing. And it's so good. And then they pull her away and he just stays abstracted. And that feels a little bit weird to me. Because literally every other character, like, I was very surprised that this finale was as happy as it ended up being. Like, I was expecting there to be more tragedy, almost. But nearly every aspect of this just kind of works out in the best way that it could. Like, Kane comes back, and he's nice now because he had a whole montage character development, which, I mean, that's a whole other thing. And everyone, like, it gets revealed that they're just brain scans, like, they're not the actual people but they're brain scans, but no one freaks out. It's totally fine, and they're just happy to hear about what their outside of here selves are doing, and that's really cool. But, like, even with all the good stuff that's happening and all these characters coming together and being like, yeah, we're just gonna live our lives and help each other and it's gonna be awesome. And I love that. But it makes it super weird to me that Jax is still abstracted, like, he just stays that way. It really felt to me like it was setting up that, like, the message they were setting up is like, Jax is a worthwhile person even with everything bad that he has done. He's still a worthwhile person who deserves support and love. But then he just stays abstracted and they don't actually return him to, like, his previous state. And that just felt odd. I understand if from a logistics standpoint you didn't really want to do that, because then that implies that you can fix every other abstraction there. But at the same time, like, the whole trope of, like, going into the mind is like you help them in some way. Honestly, I would have been, like, fine with it if it was like they go into his mind and he makes peace with it and he finally accepts himself, and then his abstraction just kind of fades away, right? Like it just sort of fades away, but it's at peace now type thing. I can understand why people wouldn't like that either, but I don't think keeping him around as like a weird dog is necessarily better. It just feels odd to me that with all the episode did to establish that regardless of his actions, he's a worthwhile person who didn't deserve the treatment he got in his outside life. Like, to be clear, the episode is not using his backstory to excuse his actions, which is very important. It is not claiming or implying that what he does is okay because of what he went through, but it's also very compassionate in showing that what he went through was also not okay. And I just find it strange that through that, he's now still stuck. Like, and from like a pure world building standpoint, this really does feel fixable. Like, the real Jax is still in there. Like, he's literally in there. We see him. And I understand the idea of it being like corrupted code and stuff like that, but there's a lot of ways to recover corrupted code. And Kane is back. Kane, like, they have forever to experiment with this, and you're telling me they just don't ever try? Yeah, like, maybe this is down to a personal opinion, but I feel like there should have been some way to bring Jax back and have people actually, like, see him as a person. And, like, maybe along the way, he can feel comfortable telling them about his identity, like, about being trans, and maybe something can come. I don't know. I just felt weird about the fact that he stayed abstracted. I thought that was an interesting choice. Hi, it's last minute recording llama, and it occurred to me as I was editing that Jax staying abstracted could very well be a reference to I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, where the dude stays as an amorphous blob forever. And, like, I understand, like, you want to reference the source material and stuff, and, like, I realize that maybe that has something to do with why they did it, but I still think that there probably should have been a way to make him not an amorphous blob anymore, and I don't think it would have hurt the story if he was allowed to be a person again. Okay, I'm gonna move on now. Thank you. Yeah, going back to the brain scans thing, Ragatha has a line where she says, at the start, she says, "I think I always knew," which at the time is kind of, I think, meant to show that, like, I'm trying to remember what she even, like, is responding to when she says it, but it's something about, like, I think it's implying that, like, I always somehow knew there wouldn't be an exit, like there wasn't a way out for us, but I feel like it would have been more fitting if she was talking about being a digital copy, and if that's what everyone is realizing in that scene, I really don't think it is, but, like, if that's what's supposed to be implied, it's really not clear at all, and it really doesn't help that, like, the whole Scratch scene is, like, really confusing, like, because Scratch pops up on stage, and, like, me and my husband, and I think several people, thought that Scratch had been unabstracted and revived. Like, maybe that's why Jax staying abstracted bothers me so much, because it really feels like with all that power, this should be possible, but I don't know. That was like, was anyone else confused by that? I was confused by that. Yeah, and so I just, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean for this to get, like, super down. I don't want to downplay it, like, I don't want to make anyone feel bad, and I don't want to rag on anyone who was a part of this. It's just, yeah, and I'm sure people have a lot of different interpretations about Jax and his identity and that sort of thing, and I'm certainly not the most qualified to talk about it, but, you know, this is my channel, we got opinions, and I feel like there probably should have been some way to bring him back in some way. Yeah, there were just, like, a lot of little things about the episode that come together to make it feel just a bit rushed and just a bit incomplete. A good example is the episode They All Get Guns. That episode is also, at its center, about Jax and Pomni's relationship, right? Like, it's them coming closer and closer as friends before Jax realizes what's happening and freaks out and tries to backpedal, right? Except Pomni doesn't let him and, like, keeps on pushing, because Pomni is, it seems by all indication that Pomni is a little bit more forceful than Jax was expecting when it comes to not backing down from something she knows is true, and that's why he freaked out about it. But yeah, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, they all get guns, where obviously the focus is Jax and Pomni in that episode as well, but the episode also focuses on the other characters too. Like, there's that whole conversation that Zooble and Gangle have about being gimmick characters and how that makes them feel, and how Zooble is like, you have to choose to love yourself, and then and then they kind of doubt themselves because Gangle is like, oh, do you ever feel like bad? And Zooble is like, oh, maybe I'm a fraud. Can I really give this advice if I don't always feel good about myself? And then Gangle grabs their hand and it's like, no, like, that is good advice and you are worth it, and we're gonna do great and have a good time and love ourselves. And it's a nice little moment. And then Ragatha also has, like, her moment with Kinger, where she actually opens up about her problems and is like, I really feel like I'm letting everyone down. I feel like this is just bad. And Kinger gives her some advice, and it's really nice. And then that whole thing happens, and this idea of like, oh, I'm being emotionally open, we're growing as people as we shoot guns at each other, like, that's really fun. And it's juxtaposed by the fact that Jax is unwilling to do that. Jax is not willing to have that openness and grow closer to someone as a friend, because he's scared and he's mad and he's got all these feelings and he's refusing to process any of them. And so, like, that episode I think is a good example of, like, something with a little more balance, maybe. But yeah, I'm sure, like, in the coming little while, I'll probably definitely be looking at different people's opinions on this, because I'm sure there's lots of different interpretations, and these are just my off-the-cuff thoughts, and my opinions very well could change. But yeah, overall, there are a lot of things I like about the finale. There are parts of it that I think are fantastic, and I love it so much. But there are other parts of it that just feel a little half-finished, and I'm realizing as I'm talking about them that they really do bother me quite a bit. And I'm just gonna slip this in at the end because it won't leave me alone. Some part of my brain is like, oh, well, maybe, 10's a nice number. Maybe there's a secret 10th episode. And I really hate saying that, because I was part of the Sherlock fandom and I saw that thing repeat with Stranger Things. And so I don't want to put it out there that maybe there's another part to this, because that feels disingenuous and frankly a little bit disrespectful. But you know how it is. If there's any chance that it might be real, I gotta say it, because what if, right? Yeah, maybe I'll cut that part out if it feels really mean or weird or anything, but yeah. Oh yeah, I barely talked about Kane. I should probably, in my previous theories video, I thought Kane wouldn't come back because I figured they'd have to do a lot of work to make it, like, not terrifying for the I guess players, is for lack of a better term, for the circus members. And I think they did an okay job with it. Like, they kind of gloss over it where it's like more implied that he has to earn their trust rather than showing him doing it, but I think it's okay. It's another one of those things where I think maybe the montage of him learning about humans could have been a little longer, maybe a little more, like, showing him going back and forth about it and not really getting it before he finally does. But overall, I think they did an alright job. And it's another one of those things where it's like, well, if you're doing everything and bringing Kane back and everything, like, maybe you could fix Jax. Maybe let Jax come back, and I don't know, maybe he can just modify his avatar to whatever he wants. Maybe he can do that. But anyway, yeah, I feel like I don't think any of those are hot takes, but who knows? I guess we'll have to see. Yeah, feel free to tell me what you guys think in the comments. Just, as always, be sure to mark your spoilers, because it's just polite. And yeah, I'm gonna let Scripted Llama take over now, but I hope you enjoyed this little ramble, and be sure to stick around for the character analysis stuff, because I will probably have lots to say there too. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I could probably talk about this series for hours, and I intend to, but I hope this can serve as a free early sampler of what I'll be discussing in future videos. As I said before, this video was released early on Patreon, and if you'd like to see my other videos early, you should consider joining. Along with that, you can get exclusive updates, first look at art for videos, and a monthly Q&A from yours truly. And if you have questions about this video specifically, be sure to join me for the after party on Twitch. I livestream almost every Saturday from 12 to 2 PDT, and I'd love for you to drop by and say hello. And I'd like to take this moment to give a very special thank you to all of my patrons, including, but not limited to, Perplexia Sphinx, Snake, Tree, Lurch18489, Sphinx, I May Be Dumb, and Puppet Wraith. Thank you all once again for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I hope to see you all again soon. Bye!